Good day, everybody. It is Calxiyn here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you what I learned in 2020, what I accomplished in 2020, and my plans for 2021. Now, I usually make a New Year's video every single year. I did one in 2018 and 2019, but I was a little apprehensive this year because I wasn't sure if I should make one or not with everything that's been going on. But I talked to other content creators and I asked my Discord server, and it seemed like that people had two different general consensuses. And the first one was that we should celebrate our achievements in a year like this. We should celebrate what we have accomplished despite everything that has gone on this year. And the other side of it was that people are still interested in what I learned as a content creator, as a human being, and that could be helpful to some people. And then also what my plans are for the channel. Some people did express interest in that. So that is the plan for the video today. I've gone through a lot of changes this year, both personally and content-wise, and I think a big theme of this video is how all these events lead into the idea of me being a real YouTuber, why I didn't think of myself as one before, what brought on the change in my mindset, because I feel like that everything in this video is pointing towards me talking about at the end how my mindset has changed, that I'm just going, I hate like, oh, new year, new me, like the core of my personality is not going to change. I'm still going to be the same Cal that you see in videos, but my mindset has definitely changed, and I want to go over everything and explain why. I'd like to start with content first, because I started this year really focusing on numbers. Like, I wanted 20,000 subscribers. Then I was like, okay, we achieved that kind of fast. I think we got that in March or February, and so I was like, oh, like that was one of my New Year's goals, and I was like, oh, well, now I need another one. So then I bumped it to 25,000, and now we're at 27,000. And then on the Twitch side of things, I wanted 1,000 followers, and I achieved that as well with the help from you. I was able to achieve this, and I'm very proud of both of those achievements on the YouTube and Twitch side. But one of the biggest lessons that I think that I've learned this year, and I hope that you guys take this to heart, is that it's better to make goals that focus on an action versus a number. Like, you should make goals that are within your control. So for example, right, if you guys want to lose weight this year, instead of focusing on the number of how many pounds you want to lose or what weight you want to reach, just make a goal like, I'm going to exercise once a week or once a month, whatever it is. Because instead of focusing on the number, you can focus on actions that will be within your control. And for the YouTube side, I can't control whether people follow me. I can't control whether they subscribe, but I can control the content that I put out that could make people want to subscribe. And so that was a big lesson for me this year that I hope that you guys will take away for your own resolutions. This year was also very big for me because I finished a lot of reactions that I had started like years ago. So Code Geass and Avatar, especially Avatar. I think we've been doing Avatar since before 2019. Full Metal Alchemist, same thing. Obviously there's like 64 episodes, so that's over a year. And those were legendary viewing experiences. Now Code Geass is my favorite anime of all time. Madoka Magica really changed the way that I look at anime in general. I adore Beastars. Like, I fell completely in love with Beastars. There was also the finale of She-Ra. Something that I really learned this year is the presentation style that I want to continue with going forward. I think it's important to be flexible. Like, I'm not going to say like every Calxiyn video will be like this till the end of time. Like, no, obviously not. I'm sure that my format will keep evolving, but I finally have something that I am happy with. And if you've seen the format that I've been using for Attack on Titan, where we have the big moments reaction and then a post discussion, I feel like that is helping me so much with how I enjoy anime, because we were already doing that with Ruby. We were doing a reaction and discussion, but usually with anime, like, I may talk at the end of a reaction video a little bit, but it was mostly for the reaction. And I feel like the style works better because it lets us critically analyze. People don't get mad that we missed something during the reaction, because obviously if you're doing a post discussion, you'll catch it on your second and third watch. Like, it's really made me appreciate the anime I've been watching more, because I was never the biggest Attack on Titan fan. Like, I'll be honest, like, I just sort of, followed along, enjoyed the show. But now I'm watching like each episode 3 times and I'm really enjoying it. Like, I'm enjoying it a lot more, and I think that you guys are too, judging by the response. So thanks to you guys for that. Something else I've learned this year content-wise was to stop using filler words. And it's not as if I can make the likes and the ums totally disappear from my vocabulary, but rather other, the you know what I mean, you understand what I'm saying. I say that a lot because it stems from a place of insecurity. I feel a lot of people with like social anxiety and stuff like that, stuff like that's another one. But in this case, stuff like that is sort of important for me to say there. But I guess with those other phrases, it's that I never doubt my points, but I really second guess myself on if I'm being understood. And a couple viewers like expressed their annoyance, which is totally fair because it undermines their intelligence if I have to keep asking if people understand what I'm saying. Like, you would assume that your viewers are smart enough that they do know what you are saying. And so it was a very fair and valid criticism, and I've really tried to apply that, whether it's to stop using them entirely, but mostly it's just editing them out because I'm not perfect. I haven't gotten it down quite yet. There's probably a couple in this video, but that's something else that God. Oh dear, should I keep that in? Aside from those content improvements, I want to talk about specific videos that I really enjoyed making this year, or I'm really proud of. The Barbie Princess and the Pauper video essay. That is one of the best edited videos on my entire channel, and I wanted to make more, but the situation in the world that we can't really talk about, 2020, let's just say that, 2020 did not allow for that for just a couple different reasons, like motivation and some other things, but I'm glad I waited because now I have this VTuber model that hopefully editing Cal will go right here, and I can't wait to make more video essays using this VTuber model because I used to have the little Calxiyn in the corner, if you guys have seen those videos for video essays, not just the Barbie one, but I also did some for Ruby, so I feel like a VTuber model will help bring to life that video more because I can like do see over here in this scene and like gesture with my arms, and it's a little more interesting. I think that the Oscars is genuinely just the best piece of content that I've ever done. Murder of Birds and I did the Ruby Award show this year, and we worked incredibly hard on it. I think the Oscars is genuinely one of the best Ruby videos I've ever made, period, in terms of editing and obviously a style and the whole concept. I'm just really proud of it. I'm proud that we could give something back to the community, but we could also show Ruby how much we appreciate them, and I found that very meaningful. I think that the other best video that I was a part of this year was the RubyTuber panel, and it's on Arnold's channel. Arnold and I worked really hard on organizing that, and we had That Kaito Dan, and Jeremy, and Fat Man Falling, and Phoenix Knight, and Blizzak. I think that's everyone, and Arnold. Obviously, Arnold and I were there, and I feel like that was such a good experience. I feel like I'll never forget that. It was just so much fun, and I want to do more of that in 2021. I feel like a big plan for me for 2021 will be involving more YouTubers in collaborations, and the Oscars is actually going to be doing that, just so you guys know. I think that it's going to be really cool this year, and I just want to sort of expose my audience to other channels in the community. I really want to show you guys what the community has to offer. There are a lot of YouTube channels that don't get enough recognition, I think, and so I want to be a part in helping those channels grow. I think that would be really nice. In terms of big videos this year, the Has Been Hotel fandom and also Hell of a Boss have been really amazing to us. I'm just surprised by how well the videos have done, but not as surprised as I was for my Smash reaction to Sephiroth because it has gotten almost 100,000 views, and I think that's crazy. I almost didn't even upload it. Like, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy fan, so I don't know if people will like this reaction. Like, I only know Sephiroth from Kingdom Hearts. Are people gonna bully me on the internet? But it was a very positive experience. People were positive to me, which I thought was really surprising because I was so scared to post it, but also just to see how it really resonated with people, and people really enjoyed it. And I know that views aren't everything, but just to see that we have that reach, that we can reach that big of an audience, we can reach hundreds of thousands of people, it's never really set in. Like, I thought Miraculous Ladybug was just a fluke. I'm gonna be honest. Like, when Miraculous was getting these view numbers last year, I was like, this is a fluke, like, this isn't gonna happen with literally anything else, like, But it's not just a fluke, and it's not like I'm thinking that it's gonna happen on every single upload. Obviously, that's impossible, but the idea that this could be sustainable and that we could gather a large enough audience to be real YouTubers is something that I've really been thinking about over the past couple months, and that's again gonna lead into our conversation that I'm having more near the end of the video. It wouldn't really be a video on this channel if we didn't talk about Ruby, so let's talk about Ruby. The volume's not over yet, so that's great. Very funky fresh. So that's still going, but we've gotten the most support we've ever gotten. The volume's great, the views are great, and again, views aren't everything, but in terms of what I've accomplished this year, I feel like that our videos are the best that they've ever been, and the views reflect that, so that's why I feel like it's important. I did start singing Ruby songs this year to overwhelming support, and I'm really happy about that. That's definitely something that's gonna continue in 2021, but what Ruby sort of taught me through the hiatus, Hunter and I have made a bunch of hiatus content, is that I kind of want to put a little more love into editing. Usually I do the very basics. You guys will see in this video probably some basics, just cutting when I flub a word or stopping because I mess something up and then restarting a sentence. Like, those are usually the cuts we make. But for the Bumblebee theory video, especially the Bumblebee theory video, I did some fun like zoom ins and cuts and just something to make it a little more fun. So I hope that in 2021 I have a bit more fun. I don't know, it was cracking me up. Maybe you guys will be like, okay, Cal, whatever. You added a zoom in here or something there, but I laughed, okay? I thought it was funny, so it's more of a thing that's gonna be for me, for non-reaction videos, to have a little fun, to make them a little more interesting than us just sitting down and talking, even if we are very eloquent and the cuts are nice and everything makes sense and we don't mess up. I think it'll be fun to add another layer on top of our editing process in 2021. I briefly want to talk about Twitch, because something that I did learn in 2020 was how to even do Twitch. I have been on Twitch before, I have streamed, but they talk about like cross-promoting, like you need to make YouTube videos that advertise your Twitch channel and that's how you get seen, and that's a general vibe in the community, that is how you get people over on your Twitch channel. And I think that I finally learned how to do that in a format I really like, which if you guys have seen with Persona 5 and Kingdom Hearts Remind and Spider-Man, it is basically me posting my reactions to cutscenes here, because this is partly a reaction channel. So I put my game reactions here and then the game plays over on Twitch. And I have plans for 2021, all right? Arnold actually bought me a 3DS capture card for Christmas, so we sent my 3DS to the guy. The guy's gonna install it, and then I'm gonna play The World Ends With You, hopefully, because there's a new World Ends With You game coming out in the summer. So I want to stream that on, you know, how God intended on the 3DS, because the Switch port, when it's connected to the TV, which you need to do to stream on your computer and stuff, it's bad. So I want to do the handheld mode of it, because that is how it was originally supposed to be played. And I think that the new releases in 2021 will really help me keep track, because of Persona 5 Strikers, for example, is coming out, and that's what really kept my streaming schedule on track this year. It was Remind and Spider-Man. Like, if I need to play an old game or a game that I'm not really like, oh, I need to watch this quickly before I get spoiled, like Kingdom Hearts Remind and like Spider-Man, I'm a little lazy. I'm a little like, I'm so nervous to stream sometimes, and I don't understand why. Like, I feel like that's a whole other video, but I'm like, I can just do it later. Like, who needs to play Mario right now? I don't, right? And so I feel like that new releases that I'm interested in, like Persona, will help to keep me consistent. Now, I want to talk about some things on the personal side and what I learned about my mental health and just some personal stuff, I guess. And I do want to keep some specific stuff private, just because like the whole internet does not need to know my business, but I do need to give some context to all of the situations I'm going to be talking about. Specifically, I got diagnosed with ADHD this year, and I want to talk about how that has sort of affected me in the past up until now. And I've mentioned with other videos how I had a very difficult time in high school. Like, I was very socially anxious, I had depression, it was serious enough that I was having thoughts, and you guys understand what I mean. So let's just leave it there. And I'm super uncomfortable, by the way. I don't know if you guys can tell. This makes me very uncomfortable. But I feel like that it's valuable in some way, because I wish that other people had the information that I had. And I know that a lot of the people that watch me are around my age, or maybe a little younger, like some of you guys are in your later years of high school. And so I feel like that by at least talking about it, we could accomplish something here. And maybe it's also just for me to get it all out there. And so yeah, I'm just insanely like nervous to talk about it. But I guess that it's important to note this, because if you guys watch my videos even from back then, I'm still like energetic and happy, and like some people think that that's fake, and it's not. Like that would take a copious amount of mental and physical effort to fake. But I think that people will probably say that. People will see like, she said that she was depressed the whole time. How dare she have moments of happiness while she's recording? Like, those people don't understand that video making is my passion and it was my escape. And back then it was like one of the reasons that I had to continue on going, to continue on living. And I feel like that even now it's a small refuge away from the thoughts that intrude in my mind. I have had intrusive thoughts about bad things happening to me, and I used to have nightmares like literally every single night about others putting me in danger. And again, I'm trying to keep things YouTube friendly so you guys can sort of fill in the blanks with that. And I just want to dispel the notion that just because someone appears happy, it means that they don't have any sort of mental illness. It means that they're not struggling through anything. Just because I'm happy in videos doesn't mean that everything in the rest of life is okay. And now things are way more okay. Again, I'm not having those thoughts anymore. I've changed like a lot coming from that. Like the high school version of me, you would not even be able to compare to the version of me now. Like it's just so many leagues apart. But I think that's the first thing, is that just because somebody presents themselves as happy in videos, it's like, yeah, we're doing what we love. Like if you love snowboarding and you are like the happiest when you're snowboarding, of course you're always going to be happy when you're snowboarding, and people will see that. But just because you're happy in that moment doesn't mean that the rest of everything is free of any sort of struggle. So I feel like that's the first valuable thing, because a lot of people really like my energy, and I'm glad that people like my energy and how excited I am about anime. But there's also this idea like, oh, she's faking it, when really it's almost the opposite. Like this is the realest that I can feel, because it is an escape from the everyday. I feel like that this analogy may be helpful, and the way that I sort of explain it is like I'm a seed, okay? I know this sounds so stupid. I'm a seed. I'm a seed trapped underneath a bunch of rock, like in a container. So say like a fishbowl. I'm a seed in the dirt in a fishbowl, but there's a bunch of rocks on top of the seed. And then sometimes those rocks start to crumble and they hit the dirt. And if you guys have ever seen what happens when you hit a plant, like with a rock, or like a plant is crushed by something, that will hurt the plant. And I feel like that in order to function, I sort of needed to invent a mode to survive being crushed by those rocks, like someone who is cold and like mechanical. Like that's how I sort of explain it, is if I had, say, an assignment, like say I had an assignment due and I was really upset about this assignment for whatever reason, it would just be like, okay, we're going into that mode, and that mode would be unfeeling, like free of emotions, and I would just sit here and zone out and write. And I've been told this is a trauma thing, like to shut down completely at even the slightest friction, the slightest conflict and pain, to basically try and be a robot, like to avoid feeling sad or upset, like pushing people away or giving them the silent treatment, because you need to act like you don't care about them, because if they know that you can be hurt by them or they can hurt you. And I think that it is because you're afraid of being crushed. And it's hard to talk about, because I feel like a lot of content creators are worried that they'll be perceived as, oh, she's crazy, or oh, like she's like a monster, right? Like people are over dramatic like that. And I actually saw this YouTube channel, the girl has DID, and I posted this on Twitter, and her specific example where another big YouTuber basically called her crazy and like basically re-stigmatized the mental illness that she already has and made her out to be like crazy and dangerous. And I think that a lot of YouTubers are afraid of that, because I'm sharing this because depression is uglier than how it's been commercialized and how it's portrayed by the media. Like the media portrayals of it, they're surface level. They don't get into the ugly and toxic parts of depression. And I can say with certainty, I've had toxic behavior. I think to some extent we all do, but back then it was incredibly toxic, and that was mostly for myself, but I won't lie and say it wasn't toxic for others. And I feel like that in this age of, like canceling and stuff like that, people are afraid to talk about anything bad they've done. I'm not talking about like racism or homophobia or stuff like that. Like that stuff is completely different, but just talking about incidents they've had where they were not at their best because they are afraid of the reaction of the people that watch them. But I feel like that it's what you decide to do about your behavior that really matters, that you put in the effort to improve your relationship with others, but also to recognize that you need help and improve that relationship with yourself, because obviously everyone else around you is completely, like, I think that my family and my friends, they're more important than I am. That's how I see it. But at the same time, you cannot improve your relationship with them until you improve your relationship with you in a lot of ways. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not trying to speak for everyone, but that's just me. And I feel like that separates someone that has an illness, like they have an illness and they recognize that they need to treat that illness, and then someone who is an asshole who just happens to have an illness, that if people recognize that they have an illness and they get help for it, compared to, you know, just being an asshole and using that illness as an excuse. Like, I feel like that's a very distinct nuance. And for me, it was a mix of like personal introspection with some of this stuff. I'm gonna talk about, again, like how I was diagnosed with ADHD and like other things, and actually being listened to by my doctors that have helped me, because if you can't recognize it, you can't go to the doctor, because you need to talk to the doctor about what you're feeling, right? And so I feel like that there's no shame in that either. Like, there's no shame in going to a doctor and asking them for help, because when you have an illness brought on by physical trauma, like if you break your arm, you go to the doctor and they fix you up, they help you, right? And so I feel like that it's no different. There's no shame in going to a doctor for a mental illness either. Like in my case, it's just mental, but it's still an illness. And so I've really been on this journey since about mid last year. Like mid last year is when I realized like I am like in a state that no one should ever be in, and I need to find a way to cope, pushing people away and, you know, ignoring people, giving them the silent treatment, just completely like shutting down as a human being and trying to purposefully not feel anything. Like, all of that is unhealthy behavior. But on top of everything, in the past couple months, a lot has changed because I got diagnosed with ADHD, and that diagnosis has really just changed my entire life. Like, I feel like that it has answered burning questions that I have always had, because like my teachers knew this. I don't think that they knew this, but if you look at one of my old report cards and the messages that they left, like, Cal does so well in class, but it would be better if she did her homework, right? Like, she excels, but then also she doesn't do what she's supposed to do. Like, that's very standard. Like, some people with ADHD, they're smart enough. This is what my doctor told me. I'm not trying to be boastful, but some people with ADHD, they're just naturally gifted in school enough that they can get good grades and not hand anything in ever. But then for others, it really makes the school struggle really, really hard. And I feel like that my ADHD caused a lot of my depression, because again, something that I was told by my doctor was that anyone would be depressed if they were being told that their ADHD symptoms were actually X. I think for me, a lot of what was causing my depression was just how other people were perceiving my ADHD symptoms. Like, oh, you're lazy. Like, I've heard that my entire life. Like, you're so lazy, you're procrastinating, why aren't you working hard enough, you're stupid. Like, fights every night that are brought on by people thinking that I was lazy or not working hard enough. And that fed into the social anxiety aspect too, where I started to feel like, oh, I can't really be honest with people because this is their reaction to how I'm feeling. Like, if I express something, it's like, oh, you're lazy, whatever. I am grateful that the people around me, they realized that that was a toxic behavior of theirs, and they made an effort to stop it, especially when things started to get more serious with those thoughts and then the situation that I was in because I was having those thoughts. And so I'm glad that the people around me, they changed their behavior because they realized that their behavior was toxic to like have those fights and have those conflicts all the time. And I've also seen that, okay, well, people can change. It doesn't matter how old they are or how stuck in their ways they are. Like, it has changed for me. Like, my relationship with other people, like, that I've known my entire life has completely changed because they changed their behavior. And so I'm really glad for that. Then it made me realize that there were things that I wanted to change and I wanted to control better as well. Like, I've been told that some people with ADHD have problems with emotional regulation or emotion regulation. And I think that given everything else I mentioned, it just made my depression worse because I was depressed, but I was also feeling the most intense depression. Like, I've heard that somebody with ADHD cannot tell between a dangerous situation situation feeling, like in terms of the anxiety in their body and the hormones that their body gives off to signal that, and then like a small problem. And I definitely just feel that in literally my everyday life. Like I remember my computer crashing and having like sobbing for like hours, uncontrollable crying, having panic attacks. If a friend cancels a plan, I think that they hate me and I'm just like, well, screw them, I don't need them anyway. Like quick to anger, quick to sadness, quick to happiness too, but very much like if anything bad happens ever, instantly taken out for the entire day. But now I feel like I've been learning a lot because I've been being taught how people with ADHD can cope. And I feel like that a big thing that I've learned this year is how to work with my brain instead of hating my brain or fighting against my brain. And I feel like that's a very big form of self-love for me. It's something that I've been lacking my entire life, because when you think something's wrong with you, that impacts your entire mindset of how you go through life. But now I know that nothing's wrong with me. Like my doctor was very much like, there is nothing wrong with you. You just have a different way of processing information than other people. There is nothing wrong with you. You just need to learn how to cope, and we're gonna give you the tools to do that. That's basically what he said. I just need a different way to regulate my behaviors and my emotions. And I'm still not there yet. Like I have literal years of therapy that I basically missed out on because I wasn't diagnosed as a kid. But I finally feel this sense of release. Like it's finally going to be okay, because there's finally people listening to me and they're teaching me how I can cope and how I can be better. And I'm still like, I still am quick to get angry and I'm still quick to get sad, but I'm working on it. Sometimes I still mess it up and still let those feelings get the better of me. But what I found I've been able to do is if it's like rising, like sort of like gas, I'm able to just like suck in the gas, put the gas into the box, and reevaluate the situation. Like, okay, I should just tell this person like how I feel in this moment. Like, hey, I feel, sad or scared. Like, is everything okay with our friendship in this very moment? Whatever the case may be. Or if something bad happens, I don't just freak out and panic by myself. I'll go to, a friend and be like, oh my God, my computer crashed. What do I do? And usually they can think of the rational solution before I am in a good enough place to think of that rational solution. And so that helps to just calm everything down when you can talk to other people and they're supporting you in a way where it's like, everything's gonna be okay, just do X, Y, and Z. And so I really, really value that. And so I feel like that this year for me has been the year of chipping away at the rocks. Like I feel like, again, that analogy I was using earlier, like I was a flower trying to grow alongside the rocks instead of just removing the rocks from the container. And now with getting diagnosed, I feel like that it's not the ADHD itself that was the rock, but it's how other people were treating me and how I thought something was wrong with me. That was one of the rocks. And so I feel like that by removing that rock, it has really changed me a lot. I don't want people to think that the ADHD is the problem, because it's not. Like my doctor said, there's nothing wrong with you. It's not the ADHD itself. It's how people respond to you and your symptoms that can really like hurt your feelings and be that rock in the container. And so thinking I was lazy all my life, that's not the ADHD. It's other people. And so that was the rock that was really destroying my self-esteem and how I felt about myself. And so I hope that that's like abundantly clear that the ADHD and the depression are very, very separate. The depression like ruined my life. The ADHD does not. I feel like in a lot of ways I was just robbed of those formative years. Like high school is really the time where you start to grow like a flower should. But even if I'm a late bloomer, I feel like it's better now to grow, like growing in a container with just dirt and sunlight and water, compared to a bunch of pointy rocks like impeding my growth. And I'm not perfect, like I've already mentioned. I still have bad days or weeks, and I still exhibit unhealthy behavior sometimes, but being taught like healthy coping methods has really been helpful. And I learned a lot of the stuff I was going through has to do with being afraid to be vulnerable, because when you're vulnerable, you can be hurt. But I've really learned that the only way that you can nurture your relationships with the people around you, with your friends, with your family, is by having communication with each other. And communication, like good communication, requires honesty, and honesty requires a certain level of vulnerability. And so instead of putting up these walls and trying to seem like, I don't know, intimidating, can you guys imagine me trying to seem intimidating? But that's like what I wanted. I wanted people to not hurt me, so I wanted to be like a little scary, you know, which does not work. If you guys have met me, it does not work at all. But now I'm able to do things that I've never been able to do before because of that coping and because of that realization that the people in my life, they aren't going to hurt me. And even if they do, them hurting me is not my fault, or it's not a fault for trusting them, because that vulnerability was necessary in the theoretical where they are also a good person. That I shouldn't treat everybody, I guess, like they're going to hurt me at any moment. That's not fair to the people around me either. And I just feel like 2020 made me realize that I've lost 6 years of my life battling this, and it's really been because I've never been the person that goes out or goes to parties, and I wasn't like that in high school at all. And now that all of those things have been taken away, not just from me, but like I have a sister that is in university now, but she was in high school, and just, I guess, to see all the things that she's done and the growth, like I feel like my sister has gone through a lot of personal growth. This isn't really a video about her, but like our relationship has done so much better because she's grown as well. Like, just to see all of the things that were taken away from her, I realized all the things that I missed out on in the first place, because I'm almost done graduating university. Like, I've passed by the high school phase that I was supposed to go through, and university passed me by without making any friends. Like, I have lost 6 years of my life battling this, and because of the fogginess that depression causes you, and blank spots in your memory. And for that, I just hardly remember the little bits of joy in those years, which is terrible. Like going to my prom or going to England. Like, I literally went to a whole different country and I don't even remember it. Like, I know that I was there and I know like the pictures. Like, if you ask me in the pictures, like, where were you, you know, like with the pictures, I know what happened, but if those pictures didn't exist, like, I literally wouldn't be able to tell you what happened. Or my first RTX, like Arnold and we've talked about this before, but I hardly remember my first RTX. My first RTX, I know what happened because of what other people have told me, but if you asked me to bring up that visual in my memory, it's just not there. But now I'm remembering my second RTX, and I remember both times seeing Arnold, and I remember my birthdays and the Christmases. And so I feel like that, like, basically after RTX 2019, that's when this journey of healing sort of started, like mid 2019. And so I feel like I'm finally free because I'm like, oh my God, I remember things. Like, I know to you guys that must sound so stupid, but actually, so I feel like that despite quarantine and despite everything that has happened in the world, for me, 2020 and I think 2021, like, I think 2020 is when I started growing, but I think that 2021 is the year that I'll be able to start blooming, where I can finally start living, even if that's living in quarantine, to finally be alive and to be a full person, not just the person that only comes out in videos, but to be like that person in videos all the time, because I was never able to be that before. Now that we've talked about all this, like, you guys are probably like, where is the point, Cal? What are you getting to? I feel like that because of all this personal stuff, I want to talk about what I alluded to at the very beginning of the video, which was the I don't feel like I'm a real YouTuber yet. Because of everything that I've talked about, I've never felt like I have had the capacity to be a role model, any sort of role model, any sort of influencer or YouTuber, because I was like, I'm so fucked up. How can I be a role model for other people if I'm this fucked up, right? And Hunter and I, we were talking this week and we realized that Calxiyn is not only me. Like, I'm not Calxiyn, I'm Cal, but Calxiyn is a concept. And in the Ruby community, that's usually associated with, like, here are the positive Ruby YouTubers. I hate positive YouTubers and negative YouTubers, but that's another video, but just for the sake of it, Calxiyn's a positive YouTuber who makes fair criticism, or criticism that has a solution, not like those other harsh critics, like whatever. But I mentioned my mental health stuff to sort of illustrate this, that I have never felt like I have been capable of being an influencer or a role model, because I felt like that my life did not allow to be that. I don't even know who I am. I'm so, like, messed up. I feel like I was walking through life like foggily, if that makes sense, because again, memory issues like caused by depression all these years, and I feel like that I've just finally woken up. So I'm editing this video right now, and honestly, I'm a little shaken up by checking my horoscope, because you guys may think that it's a bunch of bullshit. That's fine, and maybe it is. But the fact that it's saying the exact words that I used in the video, and I didn't read it before, but I only opened the app after. Like, that's a next level of just, I feel like that this is meant for me. And the gravity of having 2,000 subscribers really set in. Hunter and I were so stupid. Like, we were two stupid 16 and 17-year-olds making fun videos on the internet. And people act like, oh, like, Cal, you're 2,000 subscribers, they listen to everything you say. Like, that's ridiculous. That's not true, or else this video would have views. But obviously it doesn't. It probably won't even get past 1,000, and the longer I make it, the more that number decreases. So I don't know. At this point, I'm just sort of making it for myself. But I make this point because even if 2,000 people like literally do not listen to me, it's at least a few dozen or a few hundred, judging by what I've seen in my Discord server or just like social media. And I don't want to be boastful. I don't want to be boastful or seem like I'm overestimating my importance, because that's not what I'm trying to do, or sound like I think like I'm hot shit and I'm not really hot shit. I just think it's time for us to recognize that some people do see us as a role model, whether I ever thought that I was one or not, and take that responsibility. It's basically time to stop being those two stupid kids that we started as, because we were extremely dumb. Like, I cannot illustrate. Some of our videos have us wearing our high school uniforms with the high school logo, like not just like an animal, like any sort of animal, okay? It had school name here, school name here. Our shared brain cell could not understand the gravity and the danger, because that is stupid and dangerous. Like, we could have doxed ourselves. Somebody could have come to our school. Like, some crazy person could have come to our school. And we were just so incredibly naive about this online sphere that we were entering in this online world. And I think that it's just a combination of my own personal issues, like I already mentioned, but also the fact that, like, Hunter lives a generally normal life, right? Hunter just uses social media like a regular person. That's what made me think, like, oh, we aren't YouTubers. So-and-so's a YouTuber. Like, so-and-so's a real YouTuber. We're just here. We're just teenagers. We're just college students. Like, we're not YouTubers. But then it set in that the YouTubers that I watch have 30,000 subscribers, and I watch some YouTubers in like our genre. Like, I watch this gaming YouTuber and he's like 17 and he has over 100,000 subscribers, which is crazy. And I believe them to be a YouTuber. Like, if you ask me what YouTubers I watch, I would list them. They're a YouTuber. But for some reason, it really never clicked until now that if they're a YouTuber, or like the people that I watch with 30,000 subscribers, if they're a YouTuber, that must mean I'm a YouTuber. And so now that I've worked on all this self-healing and being in a better position mentally, I feel like that it's time to take up that mantle of being a responsible role model. I feel like that our YouTube channel was a high schooler in YouTube form. Like, whatever you imagine a high schooler to be manifested in a YouTube channel, that is what we were. And then for the past 2 years, I feel like this is totally random, but I'm watching Bridgerton and it's like a historical set romance. I feel like that I am one of those princes in a historical romance that goes out on the sea or travels the world and basically does the social media equivalent of acting like a rake. And basically, if you guys want to know like the rough definition for that, partying and not having a care in the world, not taking care of your responsibilities. Like, I feel like whatever the YouTube equivalent of being a rake is, I need to recognize that I have a platform and I can't do everything I used to do. I can't do everything Hunter does. If Hunter quotes tweets someone, right, like basically nothing happens. Maybe all of Hunter's 10 followers will see it, not to drag Hunter or anything. But with me, that is not the case. And so I feel like that it's now time for me to, you know, go back home and take the throne, except it's not that serious, but that's the metaphor that we're going with, this weird prince metaphor. Like, the king has died, and it's time for me to stop raking about and be an adult, in a sense. Social media, metaphorically raking about, to be completely clear. I don't do any of that, like, stuff in real life that you would consider a rake to do, like partying and getting drunk and whatever. You guys may be wondering what that consists of exactly. Like, what responsibility do I feel like I have as a real YouTuber? And I don't think that I've hyped up my friends enough. I want to put more effort in engaging with my friends and other content creators, like my fellow content creators, and boosting them up. Like, I think that that's part of the responsibility that you should have as a big channel, is to showcase like smaller channels, or even just your friends. Like, your friends may have an equivalent size channel, but to boost them up, to reply to your friends' posts and be encouraging when they're having trouble with a video or just having trouble, you know, in life, or post comments on on their videos, tell people to go check out their videos if you like their videos, or even just reaching out in DMs, throwing the social anxiety out the window. I don't care if it's that serious. Like, maybe you just posted like that negative tweet because you burnt your Pop-Tart. What if on the off chance it's not just about Pop-Tarts and you need a serious person to talk to? Like, I want to make sure that I'm sort of checking in with all my friends and all the fellow like Ruby YouTubers. It's great to think about how wonderful everyone is in your head, but it doesn't do any good staying in your head. Like, you have to do something about it. If you feel positively about someone, you should tell them, because it doesn't do any good staying inside of your brain because they don't know, and maybe that person needs to hear that. I really want to make sure that new content creators feel welcomed inside of the community, and I feel like that our plan for the Oscars is really going to help with that, because we're going to make it a giant collaborative effort. Like, our idea right now is every YouTuber will announce their own category. So for example, best side character, like maybe that Kaito Dan will do that, or best song, maybe Blizzak will do that. Like, we're gonna basically have a giant collaboration, channels of all sizes. So I feel like that'll really help, because I think there's definitely some new channels this year that I'm just in love with. Like, You All Right has 1,000 subscribers, and I feel like he needs more. Like, he just needs more. I love his videos. Like, we share the exact same brain cell. Like, he's one of the Ruby YouTubers where I will drop everything that I'm doing to watch one of his theory videos. So that's definitely one of the things I think of when it comes to being a real YouTuber, is uplifting the other people around you, using your influence, if people really want to call you an influencer, to do good by the other people that have supported you. And for that has been like my fellow Ruby YouTubers and my fellow content creators. I want to, I guess, repay them for everything that they've done for me, because they have really helped me through all the mental struggles that I talked about earlier, and I want to really pay it forward and give it back. I feel like another aspect of being a big YouTuber is calling out certain behaviors or commentating on community discourse. I will always call out bigotry in the community, whether that's racism or homophobia or transphobia. Obviously, Hunter and I being LGBT, we've done that a lot, but I also think that there are, I guess, little community tiffs, if you want to call it that, or petty community drama that I have engaged myself in that really weren't worth fighting, to be perfectly honest. I feel like that there's this pressure to always fight, to fight every battle, especially the ones if people send you a battle, right? Because it's like, oh, well, Cal didn't commentate on this, so clearly she doesn't care. But I feel like that I don't need to call everything out, first of all. I think that some of the stuff is just petty community discourse, but it's not necessarily worth possibly creating more of a problem, because that's the other thing I want to do, is if I do need to call something out or I feel the need, I want to think about my posts more like, is this helpful? Like, does this include a solution, or could this somehow cause more problems by me posting it? But even though that I think that some situations were definitely worth calling out, like there was an incident this summer where a community member did something completely unforgivable, and I called it out. And I feel like that was so important because of the gravity of the thing that they've done. And if you guys don't know about that, I don't want to get into it too much, but I'm not going to pretend that every single situation has been that level of seriousness. Like, basically what I'm saying is that there have been situations where I've just wanted to dunk on somebody because they've said something stupid, but is that helpful, right? Is that going to bring about a solution, or is that just causing more problems? And I feel like that people do get bloodthirsty, especially on Twitter, and to some extent I felt the pressure, because I'm like, oh, well, people want to see me do this. Clearly I'm getting, all of these likes and retweets or whatever. Like, clearly this is what people want. But just because people want it, does that mean that I should be the one giving them that? Or does that mean that I should instead be a part of a more helpful solution in trying to commentate on whatever discourse or whatever's happening without actually causing more issues? I feel like that one tweet telling your followers to just block that person, or be aware of a situation where a troll is going in like a positive fandom post and posting like bad stuff, I feel like that's enough, because continuous engagement, that's just giving them the attention that they want, right? And so one quote tweet with like report this person is fine, but to constantly like quote tweet every single one of their tweets and just continuously feed in that negativity, I feel like that's very unproductive. And I'm guilty of that too, but I think that that's why I need to think very serious about it, because as I get a bigger platform, I feel like that it's important to be more responsible in that way. And to be honest, I haven't been being very responsible at all, because I definitely stand by most of the things. Like, again, the incident this summer, that's a great example of a call out post that I will never regret, because what that person did, in my opinion, was completely unforgivable. Probably the worst thing that I've ever seen in the Ruby community, period, over this summer. And it just was, it was just fucking awful. That's what it was. But have there been situations where it's been something petty and stupid? Yeah, obviously. And that's what I need to really think seriously about, is if this battle is worth choosing, how do we respond to it in a constructive way? Or maybe that battle isn't worth fighting at all, because there definitely have been things like, I guess to use this as an example, I'll use an example. All right, there was some discourse about whether Yang is a lesbian or whether she is bisexual. And I was thinking about commenting on that discourse. And basically, like, the gist of my tweet was gonna be like, guys, can't we all just get along? Like, why are you attacking each other over your headcanons? Like, I was gonna post something like that, but then I realized, here's the thing about that, okay? People already know they shouldn't be doing that. Me posting, telling everyone to stop fighting, that's not gonna do shit, okay? Because the people that follow me, they probably don't act like that, first of all. So it really achieves nothing. And second, the people that are doing it already know that they're not supposed to do it. And so I didn't post anything, because I was just like, okay, I should probably just leave this alone. Like, that was a choice that I consciously made not to get involved. It would have been easy to get involved. And I think sometimes people will clap for you no matter how benign your actions are. Like, thanks, Cal, somebody needed to say it. No, nobody really needed to say it, because we all know, like, it's a bit, I feel like in that situation, it would have just been doing something to get a pat on the back. Like, thanks, Cal, for telling everyone they should, you know, stop arguing with each other, except your statement changes nothing. People are still gonna argue. It just would have made me look better. And really, there's no benefit in that. I think that if I had to handle that situation now, like if somebody put a gun to my head and said, comment on this discourse and make it like helpful, I probably would have reiterated that you don't owe anybody on Twitter. Like, if somebody is in your replies starting a toxic argument with you because of your headcanon, like, you should just block them. Don't argue back with them, because that hurts your own mental health. Just block them, because in reality, saying, please guys, don't fight, everyone knows that. But a lot of people, you'd be surprised, don't feel like that they have the permission to block someone. And so I feel like that maybe that could have been a tweet that was helpful in that situation, to be like, you have permission to block people. To attack people over it, that's a whole other beast. Like, at that point, you're just being toxic. So moving on from the hellscape that is Twitter.com, I also want to participate in more charity stuff. I haven't really done any charity stuff since our LGBT fundraiser, which was a couple years ago, and then Ruby for Water, which I did, I think, in our very first year of YouTube. So it's definitely been a while for me, and I feel like it's because I didn't want people to have donation fatigue. Like, we did Ruby for Water, and then we did the LGBT fundraiser very close within each other, and even though we still, like, made a sizable fundraising, like, I think we fundraised like over $1,000 for both. Like, it was bananas. It was crazy, the fact that, like, we did not have, like, over 5,000 subscribers, but we raised $1,000. Like, that was literally insane. Very insane. And so imagine if I can do that at 5,000 subscribers, raise over $1,000, what can I do with 20,000 subscribers? And I don't want people to burn out, but I do feel like that once a year I should participate, and at least, even if I'm not doing like a donation stream or something, like a specific charity, I feel like that always advocating for those organizations on places like Twitter, where people see my posts, could be just as valuable. And it's not forcing people to donate. It's just like, here's an organization that you should read about and check out. Like, I feel like that both of those approaches, like actually like picking one time a year to raise some money so people don't get too burnt out or have donation fatigue, and then also just advocating for organizations year round, I feel like that would be a really good way to use this real YouTuber influence. Even though I'm still still a random person on the internet that you guys just seem to listen to. I feel like, especially this week, I've been filled with this like a sudden, oh shit, like what am I doing? What am I really doing type of feeling. I'm not doing enough. And I feel like that now that I've finally gone through those growing pains, like it's time for this flower to grow into the jar, to grow into the platform that I've been given. It's really because I had this mindset of, oh, I'm just one person. It doesn't really matter. Like, oh, I have what, like all 10 people that follow me on Twitter are gonna see this, like doesn't matter. Like that's what I was sort of thinking. That's a mindset that I've had. But now actually like looking at my analytics, whether that's Twitter or Instagram or YouTube, like just seeing that, I'm like, okay, there may be more than one person here. And so what to advocate for, what messages to send to my subscribers, what social responsibility to take elsewhere, and how I should present myself to others, like whether I asked for it or not. I am like one of those YouTubers that I have looked up to all this time, and I think that it's time to start acting like it, and I think that the best way to do that is through action, and so that's why this is basically probably one of the only times I'm gonna say this, because again, I don't need any more pats on the back for doing something that I should have done a long time ago. All I need is to say it now, because this is my New Year's resolution video, but then to show that through the actions that I take and what we decide to do going forward. And yeah, guys, this is everything I've learned and everything I've experienced in 2020, and for 2021 I feel like that it's basically time for me to be an adult. Like I was always an adult, but instead of being a stupid college kid or a stupid university kid, I am now an adult. And I feel like that it's not like we're gonna suddenly change or anything, but I'm simply just changing in the mindset that I have going forward with every post or every video or what have you. I'm making the conscious effort right now, and I want to make that conscious effort every day, because change doesn't happen overnight. The reason why it's so hard to change is because you have to decide, you have to wake up every single day and start to make a habit, and that habit will eventually just become ingrained in your personality, but you have to actually at first make a conscious effort to do that. You have to make a conscious effort to be an adult, because it's easy to slip back into that careless or carefree life, right? And so I feel like for me, it's starting today. It's starting with this video. It's starting with writing this script for the past couple days. It's that these are all of the feelings that I've had, but now that I've committed to them, it's time to showcase that change and those changes with some action. And so I hope that you guys enjoyed my retrospective on this year. I hope that you guys have a happy new year filled with love and joy, and I thank you for all your support in 2020. I will see you in 2021. I just want to say, if you've gotten this far, thank you for watching the whole video. I'm so nervous. I was so nervous for the second half. Like, you know, it's easy to be like, yeah, like 25,000 subscribers, let's go. Like, it's easy to talk about stuff like that. It's not easy to talk about what you need to change about yourself. It's made me literally so nervous. So the fact that I'm so nervous and so uncomfortable, and you guys have stuck with me like until this point, like thank you guys so much. Happy New Year again, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!